Hello friends, welcome to the channel IT Simplified. In today's video on Azure, I'm here to talk about 5 Azure best practices that you definitely have in place for your subscription to keep it secured and healthy. So let's get started, starting with Azure Bashing. You might have heard about it, but I'm just going to talk about briefly. So when you deploy your machines within Azure, you need to have a public IP, and that is how most of the time you're going to access. And for that, you need to have a RDP port or SSH port open. Now, that is okay for test and dev, but in case for the production environment, that can be considered as a security vulnerability because the hacker can use these ports to get into your resources. Now, what is the answer for that? Now, Bastion is a platform as a service which allows you to access your machines, virtual machines, over secured socket layer, and you can access it by using the private IP of your VM. So it acts as a jump server. So you don't need to assign a public IP, and you don't need those RDP ports, keeping them safe and secure. And creating a Bastion is pretty straightforward. You can just go through a couple of things. You just need to have a dedicated subnet for that, and you can deploy this, and it is highly scalable. So that is number one option, I will say, in the top 5. Now, number 2, you need to have encryption of your data while it is in flight and at rest. It is very important because I know that most of the users, they are using storage account. So if I can just show you, I have a storage account with the name Girish. And if I go under configuration, it is by default selected for you. So you can see secure transfer required. It is enabled. Make sure that it's enabled for you because while you're sending the data, it will be encrypted. So all those bad guys won't be able to access that. That's one thing. And if you have databases in your environment, I'm just going to my SQL database. And if I open the server, under security, you can see transparent data encryption. Now, it is also enabled by default for you, but if you want to use your own keys, you can bring this by using customer managed keys, and that will make sure that your database is also protected at rest. So definitely you want to use these two options to make sure your data is encrypted while at rest and in flight. And you can do further lockdown of your machine, of your databases, by restricting this from specific virtual network. So under settings stills, you can have a firewall and virtual network, and you can only specify from what range of VNets you allow this access from. And you can also now use private endpoints or private link in case you want to give access to your database from specific resource within Azure environment. So these are definitely good options. And I have put this at number 2 under 5 Azure best security practices. Now, moving forward, number 3 is RBAC. Now, role-based access control, that is what it stands for. Now, you don't want to give access to the people who doesn't require, and they should have limited access. So maybe you don't need to give an owner access to each and everyone in the subscription. And the best way to lock down your resources is by using role-based access control. So if I can show you on the access control, I can go and add role assignment. And based on what is the job profile of that specific person, there are different options you can select. You can give access just to WVD environment if they just want to have access to maybe cognitive services. If you just want them to manage Sentinel or Security Center, all these options you can apply over here. But the top 3 options are owner, contributor, reader. But you got to do the due diligence on your side to make sure that people, they have specific access based on their job profile. You can give access at the user level, or you can create a group and give access at the group level. So you have that flexibility, and you can specify that right from the list over here. So definitely a great tool, role-based access control, to make sure that only specific people have access to specific resources. Moving forward, WAF or Web Application Firewall. Now, when you deploy web applications in your environment, now that is open for hacking if you don't properly secure that and protect it. Now, they are vulnerable to cross-scripting or SQL injection. Now, you want to protect it, you can use Application Gateway. It's a layer 7 load balancer, and Web Application Firewall is one of the feature both in Application Gateway as well as Front Door. This will detect and also prevent the attacks that I talked about. Also, there are certain features now in preview, such as a DDoS attack. So in case somebody is trying to do a bot attack on these web application, you can use Web Application Firewall, and you need to use an appropriate tier. You can see now we also have the WAF version 2, and we have the older one, which is WAF option. But these will protect you from all these vulnerabilities, which are generally associated with web applications that you deploy. So that is number 4. And now finally, after you have all these in place, number 5 is Security Center. And this is one of the services you definitely want to have in place, because if as a system admin you want to manage everything from one interface, this is the service you want to have. And just typing in Security Center, by default out of the box you get a free version, but if you want to have all the features that this service provides you, it is a paid version. I think it is called Defender now, but you can see as a system admin it gives you all the information about. So I'm on the overview page. It will give you a health score of your resources. I can go to getting started, and you can drill down based on what resources, like your server, your app service, your database, your storage account. It will give you recommendations. So in the back end, Microsoft is using artificial intelligence to compile all these information. You can also do one quick fix, and it will also give you information about what you need to do in order to make sure that your applications, your storage account, your servers, your databases are protected. So definitely you get a bird's eye view from the system admin perspective of everything what is happening in your environment. So these are the top 5 security practices that you definitely need to consider when you are managing your subscription or your tenant within Azure environment. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.